It's 6 months to the presidential election, and unfolding events indicates that the poll will be one of the most competitive yet. Hello and welcome to Political Standpoint. I am Precious Amayo. Now, the 2023 presidential election is a very critical one for Nigerians, faced with insecurity, economic downturn that has seen a drastic reduction in their purchasing power, to a collapsing health system and a struggling education sector. Nigerians are desperately seeking to elect a president who will solve these problems. Now, more than 15 personalities are contesting for the presidency, and the candidate of the Accord Party, Professor Christopher Imumolen, joins me now. Good to have you join us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show.
Let me start by asking you, because we've seen a lot of young people, or some young persons, indicate interest in running for the presidency. Some went ahead to clinch their party ticket like you did. Some did not. And there is a general sense that, young people do this because they want to be visible, just in case there is any opening for appointment. They are visible enough to clinch it. What's your motivation for doing this?
No, if you check, again, thank you for inviting me to this show. If you check my record and what we have been doing, you will discover clearly that I'm not such kind of young Nigerians who want to go into this race because of political appointment or popularity. I have been prosperous. I have been impacting Nigerians in my own way. I own various businesses across Africa, and I believe that Nigeria at this point need a passionate leader to bring Nigeria out of where we are, the problems that we are faced with, into prosperity. That I've demonstrated personally with my NGOs all over Africa, and it's high time we begin again to look at having the economy of Nigeria handed over to young, prosperous leaders. If you may know that those who had led Nigeria into prosperity in time past did so when they were young. Those who fought for independence of Nigeria did so when they were young. The likes of Anthony Nauro, Chief MK Abiola, MK Chief Awolowo, and the rest of them were young, were vibrant, and one thing they never had those enormous experience, but they had passion to rescue the nation. That is my motivation, and that's what we are bringing. And again, if you look at this election, we just have one youth in the race, and I'm the only youth in the 2023 election. By your dictionary, you cease to become a youth when you are above 45 years. I'm the youngest. I'm 39, and I'm the youngest. I'm the only youth in the race. So your assertion to say that young persons are picking, no young persons have, no youth rather.
I said we have young people running. Some of them went ahead to clinch their party ticket like you did, but some did not. So they dropped off. That's what I said earlier. But Let me talk about you being a youth, because it does seem like that's one area where you're capitalizing on, being a youth. What's your popularity among the youth constituency, and what level of support have you gotten from that constituency?
No, yeah. For me, even before thinking about politics, I'm already popular in the humanitarian space in Nigeria. I am the founder of Unique Foundation, one of the largest NGO in Nigeria that has over 6 million population. And we've been doing our grassroots work, supporting homes, supporting families, widows, and Nigerians. I also own an educational outfit that has given over 500,000 Nigeria educational scholarship. Of recent, I also opened one of our university portal, and I asked Nigerians who are at home because of the ASU strike to go online and study for free. It's about $6,000 scholarship given to them. I'm quite popular among the youth, of course. And again, because I'm also fresh in the political scene, I cannot attain the political popularity as others who had been in the scene for the last 30 years. But our aim is quite simple, is to get 20 million votes, and we are targeting to ensure that we have that vote across all polling units.
Now, watching Political Standpoint, we continue our conversation with Professor Chris Imumolen, who is the presidential candidate of the Accord Party. He's still with us in the studio. Just before that break, we were talking about your popularity among youth constituency. And I'm just going to ask, because if you're not that popular, because when we hear the conversation today among young persons, I am not sure what percentage of those young persons really talk about you as a presidential candidate and how many of them know you. And I know you have already spoken to that already when you said you've not been in the political space for a long time. But if you cannot win votes from your constituency as a young person, where do you think the majority of your votes will come from?
You know, it is quite a reality that fresh players like us, when I mean fresh players, those who are not affiliated to any political set, who possibly have the solution to solving Nigerian problem, might not, it's reality, might not have the same political popularity as candidates who have been vice presidents, who have been governors, who have been ministers, who have been in the political setting. And if you may recall, Nigeria have been calling for a fresh face. Nigeria have been calling for a newer face to come into the political scene and rescue Nigeria. The old ones have tried their best, but maybe their best is not enough, and there's a need for a newer person. So saying that, you know clearly that judging our popularity with those who have been in the political scene for 35 years may just not be too good because we've not been there as long as they have been. But again, we have been doing a lot of work and we have been engaging outside politics. Now we're in politics, we also continue engaging. We have 6 months to election. We know what to do. What we are doing is this. We understand that the election for 2023 will be won by strategy, not just popularity.
And you think you have that strategy?
Yes,
to win this election.
We have.
You're running on the platform of Accord.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Accord as a party, their popularity and their structure. I'm not sure how many lawmakers you have at the national and local level. I'm not sure if you've ever won a state, but you seem to be so sure that you have the winning strategy.
Okay, look at what is happening all over the world. In Grenada, we have a 42-year-old president who never had a sitting senator, who never had, and he won, not just because of popularity, but for strategy. It's recently, in Kenya, we have Ruto, who also won against a side that had the presidential support. Never had. So we understand that clearly.
Let's not forget that Ruto was a deputy president before he won. So he had popularity, even though he had popularity. Yeah. He had the supporters, he had the crowd. I'm not sure I can say that you have that at the moment. So what is the winning strategy that you have?
We have 176,000 polling units. Winning election is getting votes. I just told you who I am, where I'm from. I do a little research about me. I don't think there's any Nigerian. There might be, because Nigerians are good people. So many of us who might be doing great things quietly. I'm one of those persons who had tilled into the grassroots, the 776 local government in Nigeria, have scholarship center all across the state of Nigeria, have been so engaged in humanitarian work. Yet you might not know, because we've been doing this basically because of passion we have for humanity. And that is the same structure we have been converting to merge with the Accord Party structure. You might say Accord Party does not have structure. You know, in Nigeria, we have so many political parties. But the two political parties that Nigerians focus on is so because they are political parties that have more of the people sitting in various positions, and they have funds to maintain the noise, to maintain the structure. But again, Accord Party as a party is a strong party, it's an old party, also had people like Ladoja in Oyo State. Even in Lagos, we've had seats in other states, though might not be as other parties like the two other parties. But if Nigeria continue to want to vote across that line of popularity, then we might not be able to solve the current problem we have. I always say this: we have 18 candidates for the for the presidential seat. We are applying for a job. Nigeria is our employer. I also believe that one of the things Nigeria should do, but although it might be a little bit difficult, is to also vet the 18 candidates. We shouldn't just stop at those who have been in the political scene for years, because the best manager that possibly could manage this country might just be among the 14 that Nigeria is not looking at. It's not just an issue about Accord. It's an issue about every other candidate who is not in the two major party or the two other affiliated party that came out from the two major party. I don't want to start mentioning names here. So this challenge is not just about Accord. It's about every other 14 parties that are running. But again, we believe so much that if that is an issue, we are trying our best to always come out there to, use the social media, to use the TV station. I'm here now talking to Nigerians, to engage Nigeria. There is no day. Yesterday I was with former President Olusegun Obasanjo. We had huge discussion about how Nigeria should go forward, where Nigeria ought to be, where Nigeria is. And one of the things I said was the labor of our heroes should not be in vain.
So, Professor Chris, I don't think that your accomplishments or achievements are in doubt, and I can reel them out. I know that you have 2 PhDs and 3 master's degrees. I know that you are the, if not the only Nigerian, but at least one of the first ones to be inducted into the World Book of Greatness.
Yeah.
You're also a member of the World Presidential Civility Club.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have a lot of accomplishments, that's no doubt. But what Nigerians want, we have a lot of myriads of problems in the country today. Nigerians are wondering how that translates into the skills to fix this problem. And I want to start with the biggest issue that we have, or one of the biggest issues we have today, and that's security. We're faced with a security situation that has just refused to go away. We've lost a lot of lives to this challenge. We've seen a lot of people being displaced in the Northeast and Northwest even now. What is your strategy? Because if you become the president in 2022, this is what you are going to inherit, this challenge. How do you plan to fix it?
Number one, I had, as a professor and a business person, a humanitarian, a passionate leader, I have done a holistic study about the security challenge. I had personally,
what's your finding?
Yeah. I have personally visited a lot of places. You know, I received first-hand information because of the structure that I have all over Nigeria. I know the problem. One of the major problems we have, numerous problems. Yes, numerous problems. And one of the major challenges is economic hardship. Yes, a nation that has over 40% of its population above unemployed, underemployed, is bound to face serious security challenge. You know, of recent, maybe 2 months ago, the presidential convoy was attacked by some bandits in Castina. And I asked the question, Castina is a state of about 4.4 million, about 4 million. No industry, no major facility to engage the youth. No, economic hardship is one of the major challenges, and we have strategies and we have plans to getting that solved. But beyond that, look at, we are in a country where our political structure have been jeopardized. Our political structure have been sold out. You know, it's a big problem. So there must be a serious overhauling of our political architecture.
What does the political architecture have to do? How do you link that to the security problem?
Number one, insecurity. You must take care of. You must have a good system. One, you must take care of the security personnel. One, you must have a good system for the security itself. One, have you seen our police forces? Have you seen the way their welfare? You know, when we have security details that follows us, and we are careful about their welfare. Our security personnel in Nigeria are zero when it comes to welfare. And when that happens in security, I also train security management. When you do not take care of your security personnel, they naturally could work for the very criminal they are employed to protect you against. So it's very key that we must begin to look at that. A nation that fights security, basically with human intelligence, is also bound to have challenge. We need to invest hugely ICT and technology in the fight against insecurity. We have just 2 digital satellites. Most of our satellites are not functioning. We have one that have expired. You know, how do we monitor to capture, to capture events, to capture information before crime happens? For crime to happen, 2 things must happen. One is the desire to commit crime. Another is the opportunity for crime to happen. When desire to commit crime meets opportunity for crime to happen, naturally crime comes to be. As a nation, we need to start fighting about that opportunity. We can't do anything about a man who desires to commit crime. How then do we curb the opportunity? Investing hugely in ICT, overhauling the security infrastructure. 2, look at our borderline. Nigeria have about 14,000 bordered unguided. We only guide about 84 of our borderline. A nation that porous is bound to have serious security challenges. From our west, we are bordered by Benin Republic. By the south, we are bordered by the Gulf of Guinea. You can look at it, Niger and Chad up there. Our borderline are so porous.
But let me ask you, sorry to just jump in. I know you're making a very salient point about our borders. But there has been this argument about, and 2 of them, and I want to get your opinion on them. One of them is whether Nigerians should own guns to protect themselves, and that's one of the arguments. We've seen in the past where the governor of Zamfara says that, look, you can own guns, protect yourselves. And there were people who said that that was a risk for Nigerians to do that. What side do you belong? Do you think that at this point we should be protecting ourselves? And then there's also the argument about, and that's from Erufai, Governor Erufai of Kaduna State, who said, go to the forest and bomb these bandits. Because again, you realize that this is beyond, and I understand that you spoke to the non-kinetic approach earlier, but this is beyond just economy. Even if you give some people jobs today, they prefer to stay, being bandits. How do you think that we should go to the forest and just bomb it? What's your approach to dealing with these bandits?
Yeah, you must understand, during Jonathan, the previous administration, sorry for mentioning name, I was also part of those consultants, or the consulting, to seeing how we could curb the challenge that we had with militants. You just need to know what happened. There are some things that we did. When you talk about economic hardship would not reduce, I wouldn't agree that. Economic hardship will
I didn't say it will reduce. I said some people will still not give up arms.
Yes,
irrespective of what
for
you do
political reason,
yes.
Religious reason, ethnic reason. Yeah, of course, I agree with you on that. But economic hardship still remains one of the mother that is giving birth to insecurity. We must begin to look at that. So, and again, like what you said, having citizens to own gun, we don't have the capacity to control that as a nation. Government need to stand up. Any government officials or government person that actually recommend that is doing that because of the kind of governmental system we run in Nigeria, where leaders fail and they push responsibility to citizens. It's still the fundamental responsibility of government to protect lives and property. Government must sit up to its responsibility to protect our people. Nigeria must be protected. We cannot allow Nigerians at this point to own. It is going to fuel this. It's going to fuel this situation. What we must do is to start fixing immediately our security problem. We have about 350,000 police forces. Of course, that might be enough, but how well trained are they? When was the last time our police force have been trained? What is the training capacity for them? You see, we need a serious behavioral pattern change, even for Nigerian police. And that can be achieved by deliberate effort to solve it. Even in Nigerian security, corruption has been impregnated into the security infrastructure. We must be deliberate about...
What do you mean corruption has been, you said impregnated into the system?
Yes, into the Nigerian security system.
In what sense?
Oh, Nigeria budget so much. Have you seen the budget, Nigeria budget on security? Then you ask yourself, what is the impact of the fund that is going through the line to the national peace? You understand that there's a lot of... We've seen cases where a lot of things happening. When was even the police van? When was the last time it was fueled? You see, police are even told to fuel their van by themselves. Why? Because it's assumed that, you take money out there. So corruption is in the system. So we have details that even buy uniform. Police officer buy uniform by themselves in Nigeria police system. This is just the little out of so much. No serious country would run its security in that manner. If we want Nigeria to be safe, first, we must ensure that our security, agency of security are taken care of. Those that work at security are taken care of the system. But for me, I believe that we need to overhaul that system. We need to recall everyone in that system so that they need to be checked. In 2009, when the American tour were bombed, immediately a policy was established called Homeland Security, where everybody was a suspect, every home. It's a policy. What policy is Nigeria developing for this fresh security threat we're having? When I say fresh, it's not fresh, it's been there, but we've been tackling it the medieval, the archaic way we have been, even before the threat came on board. We must begin to engage international best practices. We must begin to ensure that we drain out corruption from our security system. We must begin to ensure that Nigerians by themselves are motivated to report crime. It's very important because security, it's
and I was going
collective.
To ask you, I was going to ask you about that because one of the biggest challenges we understand we have is that community relations with the police force and security personnel, where people are not willing to give up information just for the fear of their lives. What do you think can be put in place to ensure that there is intelligence coming from citizens, first-hand intelligence coming from citizens to security personnel? What do you think can be done?
Trust. We must begin to rebuild that trust.
And how do you rebuild trust?
We must begin to rebuild the trust between the security. And we have, in Nigeria, we have a community relationship between policing and the community. that trust needs to be rebuilt. And that can only happen, like I said, one of my major responsibility immediately I assume office when I become the president is to immediately see how we can digitalize the economy. Yes, digitalizing the economy by itself is one way to reduce corruption. You know, we live in a country that corruption has eaten deep into our system. You know, so it's so difficult to separate the system from corruption itself. And if you do that in a hurry, you might end up killing the system and killing the corruption.
Let me link that back to building trust, because I don't want to lose that line of thought.
Yeah, I'm going there. I'm going there. So once we are able to digitalize the system and reporting, intelligence can be gotten through a digital platform, not by human. You know, why is it? Let us look at it. Why is it that the community do not want to relate with the policing? Because of victimization. There was a particular day I saw an accident scene, and we saw people driving past it. I had to reverse back and I asked why. We have to help these persons, and a lot of persons are afraid to do so. But I took upon myself to help. Immediately, police got there. You know, if I was not who I was, or I didn't know what I knew, I would have been roped into that matter. So a lot of Nigerians are afraid. That is trust itself. So once we build a system on how intelligence is being reported, we don't have. Even our 911, is it working? How far is Nigerians oriented? Do they have the orientation to know how to report how to report intelligence before crimes happen? We need a whole lot to be done in terms of information, in terms of building back trust, in terms of community engagement with every community. It's a whole lot of work. And that's
it is, and that's why Nigerians want to know what you do about it, because we know that the challenge ahead of the next president is enormous in terms of economy, education, there is power sector, there is security, just a lot of issues, and whoever is going to take that office has a lot to do. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Political Standpoint. As we approach the 2023 elections, we're putting all candidates to test, whether at the local or the federal level. And we still have with us the presidential candidate of the Accord Party, Professor Chris Imumolen. Good to have. Thanks for staying with us, rather. You started talking on the economy just before we took that break. You talked about the digital economy, and I will get to that in just a moment. But I'm sure you've been following reports from the Minister of Finance and just the federal government in terms of where our economy is today. And one of the things that we've heard is just outright that we are broke. It was said clearly that the economy is broke. There is nothing, it was just put out there. And so if you become president, you're going to inherit an economy that is broke. So I'm going to ask you, how do you fix an economy that is broke?
Okay, before I go into that question, I think we are in the present situation because of how reckless the present administration has been running the Nigerian economy. And that is why today we have more debt profile, we have more debt to pay than even our revenue. The president we need, which I will be providing, is one that is innovative, one that have the knowledge and the connection to bring back Nigeria into wealth without stressing Nigeria. Other candidates, what they want to do is by increasing hardship on Nigeria, overtaxing Nigeria, increasing the tax window. We don't need a president who's going to do that now. Nigerians are overstressed. We need, what we'll be doing is what we've already started doing. Number one, we have a very bad business policy in Nigeria. Our business, policies to attract investors, the Nigeria by itself, the Nigerian country has a lot of challenge. How do we have a country of about 200 million population and we are not able to invest that number? Countries like West India, countries like China and the rest of them understand the impact of having huge population to market itself. We have a lot of investors who today are no longer in Nigeria. Many investors who want to invest in Nigeria are the shores of Nigeria, looking at the Nigerian market, knowing that Nigeria has a very good market, but we have very bad policies. So we need to rejig our business policies to attract investors.
What are some of those policies that you will rejig? Okay,
let's look at the power sector, for example. The challenge we have in the Nigerian power sector is the stiff policy framework that does not allow friendly investment into the power sector in Nigeria. We cannot monopolize sectors in Nigeria if we want to develop our country. We need to open it up for Nigerians who want to invest first, our investor, then international players to come in. Our country should be an open field for investors to come in. We are going to be doing that. As we speak now, we have so many organizations who want to come into Nigeria, not even to borrow, to invest through BPP, PPP, and BOT. But you know, the kind of politics we run in Nigeria is a politics where politicians will prefer to borrow, take the money, not use the project, and keep Nigeria indebted. We are not going to be borrowing. We know how we are going to run Nigeria. We have more than 4,000 plus mineral resources in Nigeria, yet unexplored. Every state has its endowment, but we have a country where everybody is looking at the oil and gas. Nobody's looking at other resources that we have that can spring Nigeria on board. We know that. We understand that. You see some Chinese guys in some villages in Ogbomoso, exploiting Nigerian minerals. Why? Because they've been able to use digital technology interpretation to know what we have. What's our government doing? So we need a leader who can prosper Nigeria without necessarily increasing the burden on Nigeria for the next administration. And that is what we offer. That is what we have. We have that understanding, and we're going to be doing. We have over 556,000 abandoned projects. How do we convert our nation from a consumption country to a productive country if we do not have a steel generating capacity? We have a zero.
But let me ask you, because again, sorry to interrupt you. I interrupted because you're starting to sound like some politicians we've heard over and over again, where they say this is what we need to do, and I will do that when I get to office. And when I get to office, nothing is done. What would be the first, if you become the president, what would be the very first decision you would take in terms of the economy?
Is digitalization of the economy. We are going to start massive digitalization of every activity we do in Nigeria, massively, because that alone will solve 60% of our problem. You can see how relaxed our civil servants are. We don't have that culture to wanting to. We do have, but the system by itself do not allow us to bring out the best we have. So the system by itself needs to be rejigged. Every Nigeria will come on their toes to get things done. I'm not just saying it. See, I am not just those politicians who will say things and not do it. You check my past record. Check what you have been doing. That the secret of a great man lies in his daily routine. You check what he has been doing. Is he a man of his word? Has he used what does he represent? If at my age 39, I can own 3 universities across the world, if I've done what I've done with the harsh economic challenges that we have in Nigeria, I was born and bred here before I started expanding all over the world, that tells you that I'm a young, prosperous Nigerian who will bring the change in Nigeria. I will not just say it, I will get it done. We need a passionate Nigeria. I've been so passionate about our country. That is why I've done so many things I've done. My name is in the World Book of Greatness because I'm one of the very few black men who has empowered the black continent so much. With my personal fund, that is passion. The leader we need now is a leader that has passion for his people. That is what we need, and that is what I'll bring in. So we are going to be digitalizing the economy. How do we have a country where a foreigner can pick a passport without query? That tells you how bad, how porous. Can you go to, I don't want to start mentioning country names. Do you know the system of picking even an NIM card in countries like UAE to get the card? A foreigner can just come and get an NIM card. That tells you that we don't have a system in Nigeria.
I'm not sure the Immigration Service will agree with you that foreigners can pick passport without query. I'm sure they will tell you that they have a system in place to ensure that everyone who is picking the passport is well scrutinized.
What is the system? Have you not picked the passport? You go to passport office, you fill a form, and they snap you. What do they do? Is there any background check? We don't have a system. Nigerians need to be database. We need to identify every Nigeria with a number. We need to know the number we are. We need to know who we are, our demography. If we must fix Nigeria first, we must have data. We live in a country that has no data. Yes, that is my first, because that alone will solve corruption. That alone will solve insecurity to a large extent. I'm not just saying that is what I'm going to do alone, but it's the major challenge to have a country with law and order. A country that we don't have that. We don't have
but
that.
let me, because I don't want to lose, there's something you said earlier, I don't want to lose that line of thought. You talked about not putting the burden on Nigerians in terms of taxation. Some people say that we are the least taxed country in the world. When you check countries like the US and even the UK that live on taxes, and that we don't even pay as much tax as they do, so that we need to be even taxed more. But you are saying that you don't think that Nigerians should bear the burden. Right now, we're borrowing to fund our budget. you're saying that the revenue majorly comes from tax, levies, the ports, and all of that. Where will you then find the money to fund the budget if you're not going to tax Nigerians, if you're not going to borrow? How do you fund the budget? And how do you then pay off the debt that we currently owe?
Number one, we have a lot of mineral resources, gold, diamond, a lot of mineral resources that we are not, it's in the hands of illegal miners. We must control that itself. Two, we have a lot of windows that allow much, even the little tax we collect is not coming to the pocket of the government. I can tell you that. So we are going to cover every loophole through a system. Remember, a system that will ensure that Nigeria sees everything that is gotten and it's transparent to its people. The tax we are collecting in Nigeria alone is enough. Okay, let me tell you. Look at the tariff that is charged on electricity. Every year we talk about investing 100 billion plus in having more power plant. What about the tariff that Nigeria pay? Nigeria generates about $3.something billion annually on tariffs paid on electricity, even for light you don't have. What happened to it? Nobody's talking about it. Where is it going to? So we must capture what we are collecting. Believe me, if we adequately capture what we are collecting without increasing the burden, that can do so much for Nigeria.
All right, well said. But let me take you now to education, because I know that's your turf. And you have said that you are going to fix the ASU problem in 6 months.
Yeah.
If you become president, which means that if in May you win the election, you will have resolved any form of crisis in the education sector by November.
Yeah.
These promises have been made over and over again, even for other sectors, where people say, if I run in 3 months' time, this problem will no longer exist. And then they get into office, it exists even and become even bigger for the number of years they're in office. What are you bringing on board that is different from what we're currently seeing that will resolve the ASU crisis in 6 months?
Value. I have value for Nigerians. I have value for education. That is why privately I've been able to give over 500,000 Nigerians scholarship to study. I understand the importance of educating Nigeria on Nigerians' development itself. If Nigerians are not developed, if our human resources is squashed, then we don't have a country. The biggest resources a country can have is its human resources. I understand that. I understand this so well. And solving the education problem is not rocket science. It's just understanding that we need to ensure that Nigerians should be educated to have global competitive advantage. By now we should have Nigeria going to space. By now we should have Nigeria thinking about artificial intelligence, robotic engineering. We should have our own hardware, software like Facebook owned by Nigeria all over everywhere. We have Nigerians doing greatly, but not in Nigeria. Outside, we have a guy called, we have a big Whaley and the rest of them. We have Oopstop built by Nigeria, sold to Apple for about $1 billion. Nigerians are doing, our youth are one of the most tenacious, great, but we need to encourage them by ensuring that we fix our educational problem. When we talk about education, we talk about the formal education, not just the university. I'm going to fix that. 6 months is even too much.
And I'm getting, but I will let you continue with education, but I want to stay on ASU, which is also part of education, because you're talking about the value of education, which is correct, and human capacity development, which is also correct. But the problem of ASU has nothing to do with sending Nigerians to space. It's really more about the payment platform. They do not want to be paid on IPPIS. They want to be paid on UTAS.
Yeah.
They also are saying, look, the arrears and backlogs, which is amounted to about $1 trillion thereabouts, we want to be paid. And on the table now is the months that they didn't work, government say we're not going to pay you, but they also want to be paid. So how do you resolve, because it's really about funding and then payment platform. How do you find the $1 trillion? Because as you say, they're not going back on that, to pay ASU and ensure that going forward, you do not owe the university lecturers.
Can we begin to consider Nigerians as our children? Can we begin to look at these students as our children? Imagine you see them as your children and you have the fund. Won't you prioritize education? Education should be one of our priority. Yes, the UNESCO guidelines states every country should, at least minimum, has about 10% of its budget focused on education. We still budget less than 6%. Even the 6%, corruption has eaten it to a point that I don't think even 1% is used for improving education. If we provide us what they need, what is it for? Is it not to improve the life of Nigerians who become the future leaders to set our country to where it ought to be? We need to know what. If a man does not know the need of what he's doing, abuse becomes inevitable. That is the problem we are in now. ASU should be funded. Yes, they are not asking for 1 trillion.
So you would give ASU 1 trillion naira at the expense of other projects. Because you are saying that the federal government should see these children or the students as their children. Shouldn't ASU also get to the point where they compromise and say, okay, this is what we can take and this is what we cannot take, just because we also see these students as our children? Shouldn't both sides be making compromise?
No, government and the presidency is the father of all. It's not. Both ASU and the student, they are on in the same circle. Government is the father of all. Government should play a fatherly role now. See, ASU is not asking for this money once. Let me talk about the UTAS and the IPPS. See, I'm a very frank person, and if we must move this country forward, we need to start speaking at the truth. How do we have a system built to pay salary, and someone somewhere is debiting people's salary? You saw what happened to the accountant general. People debiting people's money on people who are working, and some people are making money through a system over people. Even those people should be punished immediately because these are people's sweat. If we must build this country, like I said, we need a passionate leader that have blood flowing in his vein, who see Nigeria as his brother, as his sisters, and his brother. If ASU is not asking for 1 trillion at a go, if ASU go on strike, yes, they should be paid. Why? Because they have children. They have to. That is it. What even the government I don't want to pay? How often do they go to sit-in? They receive sit allowance. We must begin to prioritize. Education should be part of our priority. When you say, do we give 1 trillion in expense of other, which other sector? Education should be part of our priority. In the scale of preference of what to do, education should be number 1 or number 2. Because it's about the future of this country. If we don't educate Nigerians, this country will not be a country. Nigerians will not have the mental tenacity to understand the right thing to do. They will not, because education is about building the mind of people. If you don't build their mind, you breed monkeys. And we don't have monkeys to lead us. The education should be, so we should give them. But what we need to do now, see them, okay, we are going to give. We should even give more. Yes. I run education. I've been running education for the past 21 years. And what you must do is education is about funding. And when you fund education, you have quality. Nigerians will become quality people. You have quality leaders. Nigerians will understand how best to choose leaders. Today, give money to people. They just say, okay, yes. Because our education have problem. We have a serious problem. For me, I prioritize education, security, economy, digitalization, and the rest of them as major part of what we'll be doing. We are going to give ASU, but we'll sit with them, look at what is available, and we'll start providing them sincerely. It's about the future. See, when there is a break in education, it's like someone who is sick, who has been prescribed by a doctor to take a particular dose of medication, and he stopped taking it. When the sickness comes back or the illness, you need to start all over again. These children, by the time they resume after 1 year, those in 400 level would have forgotten what they were taught from 100 level to 4. So they would just rush them, quack, and they produce them out. These are people that are supposed to take Nigeria to the next level. We are going to have challenges if we don't have leaders who understand deeply what education is.
And you don't think that the current administration understands education?
They don't understand it. They don't. If they do understand it, they will not treat it this way. They don't understand it. If they do understand it, we're talking about insecurity. Yet you are lying over 4 million Nigerians in tertiary education, stay at home without doing anything. You are also creating more problems to the insecurity we have. They need to have. And understanding is by application. That is knowledge. Apply it. We've heard words, people saying parents should sue us. We shouldn't be. We must have responsible leaders. So once you are given, the position of a presidency is a position that determines life or death of the people. A decision that is made by president can either set Nigeria back to 100 years or set it ahead of 100 years. The man that becomes your president should be carefully selected. I plead with Nigerians, look at the CVs of those who are going to lead us. I'm one of them. I'm sound, I'm young, I'm progressive, and I'm articulate. We must begin to hand over this country to the right hands. If Obama at 42 or 44 could become the president of America, a country that has over times 500 of the economy of Nigeria, and he did well according to a lot of people's judgment. I am 39, and we've had head of states in Nigeria who are even far younger than myself. General Gowon was head of state at 32. He was even a bachelor. They did well. I'm going to deliver Nigeria to at least a destination of prosperity.
Let me stay on education, because you also talked about the 20% of the budget goes to education. I don't know how large you want the budget to be. Currently, it's in trillions of naira, but when you give 20% to
10.
okay, what I read was 20% somewhere, but you are saying 10.
I said the UNESCO guideline says every country must at least budget 10% of its.
No, but
yeah.
I read somewhere that you had made a statement that you're going to give 20% of funding in the budget to education. I want to be sure that that's correct.
Yeah, you are correct.
You said 20%. So if you're giving 20% to education, wouldn't that be at the expense of other sectors? And then how do you ensure that a sector like health, a sector like transportation, a sector like security do not suffer because you're funding education, which of course I understand is important?
Yeah, it's not really about like I said to you, I said control is key. Ensuring that we ensure that all that we are doing is transparently seen. And imagine a government where every Nigerian could see the data of the crude oil that is sold every day and what is remitted to FAC and the rest of them. That is how transparent we want to run our system. And education would help. I so much believe. And it doesn't impact what we are currently spending on security is not impacting on security. We don't even need to spend what we are spending on security. For example, look at the amount of we are spending as if we are in a war, and we are not seeing the impact.
Are we not in a war?
We are.
Because some security experts say that Nigerians are at war with these terrorists.
Yeah, that statement means that some part of the country has been captured. What I mean captured is not in terms of territory. It's a free for all for security. We have some part of the country, like in Zamfara, for example. My vice president is the former SSG of Zamfara State government, and I have first-hand information of how bandits have been operating there. In Zamfara, schools have been shut down for the past 2 years in the states, in Nigeria. What would happen to those children? In Abuja, schools have been shut down. That is what we call war, because if an activity and the economic activity of the state has been impeded because of security, we can as well say, and there's a war. Yes, we need, but mine is not just about the budget, it's about ensuring that what is budgeted is used. And that can only happen through thorough monitoring and thorough supervision. And that can be done through a president who has passion, who can work everywhere, who can ensure that things are done, who can prosecute, who can empower the judiciary system to ensure that those who default are prosecuted without any interference. We must have a country with rule of law, with order. It's very, very important for me. So 20% on education for me is key. Yes, 20% on education, because for me education is the human being. The human resources controls every resources. If Nigerians are not trained, are not built to understand how to, then our future is at jeopardy. So for me, it's key. I have a lot of justification for that, and that is what we are going to be doing. And again, I think let me just stop at that.
So let me come to, you mentioned something earlier. You talked about how you're a young person and the leaders we had earlier were young. We had different candidates in this race. One of the youngest of them would be a Peter Obi. And so tell me, because again, he's young, but that's not the reason for, a lot of people would say age is not the reason for support. Experience also matters. And if you look at the candidates on the field, most of them have vast experience. So what are you bringing to the table that sort of trumps what these other candidates, especially someone like a Peter Obi, who is also equally young, is bringing to the table? What do you have over a candidate like that should make Nigerians look at you and not them?
Okay, one is that most of the things that you see people talk about me, the humanitarian work I've done, Nigerians just need to check them. I have done them privately with my personal funds, with or without politics. Most of the things they've done were done with government funds. And some of them, what I've done privately is even far more than what they've done with government funds. I'm not mentioning name. I'm talking generally now. One, I've demonstrated passion, true passion for Nigeria. We need experienced leaders. I have experience, but what we need more is progressive experience. But more importantly, is a passionate leader. A passionate leader. Because an experienced leader who is not passionate would not. What we have is we have so many experienced ones. What have they even done with experience? For many of them who might be coming back. Yes, but what we have now is a passionate leader. I've demonstrated that as a person. Then number two, I am the youngest in this race. You might call some other candidates young, but I'm the youngest in this race. I'm the only youth in this race. And we must begin to, Nigerians must begin to look at our CVs. Very important. I think there's a whole lot of work, even for Nigerians to do.
And you think that you have a better CV than that someone like a Peter Obi, an Atiku, or an Asiwaju Tinubu?
I don't want to be concerned about, I'm concerned about my CV.
You talked about that Nigerians should focus on CV, and I just want to ask you if you think that you have a better CV, because if we're looking at CVs, some would say, again, back to what they have done, that some of them have been at the presidential level, some of them have been at the state level as governors, and that perhaps they have managed the economy of this country to an extent. And so when it comes to CV, they have works that we can all verify. But that, yes, you have done humanitarian work, but those were private. And so it is not as big as handling, and I'm not trying to say, just hold on, I'm not trying to say what you're doing isn't valuable, but I'm just saying you might not be able to equate that with dealing with the economy of a state or of a country. And so do you think that you have a better CV than this candidate?
See, have you seen many of these governors, presidents? They don't do anything. See, having a title does not correspond with experience. Have you seen, I have friends who are senators, they only go to the chamber, they go home, they don't do anything. If there is no problem in Nigeria today, why are we talking about problem? If their experience has helped us, then I should be resting, facing my business. Experience this, I've seen people who worked as senator for 4 years, and they come back, I relate with them. They don't have the quarter experience I have when it comes to national development. So they only go, what is the experience in they go and discuss about? Experience to me should be about moving the country forward, and everybody should see it. We are in a mess, and this mess we are in is not just this present administration. It's a collective lackadaisical attitude of various sectors in Nigeria.
And how would you bring, because I have a few minutes left, I want to touch on the health sector. What sort of experience would you bring to the health sector? We see doctors. The last time I went to the hospital, what I saw was I saw student doctors, and they've been the one attending to me for a while, and because doctors are leaving the country in droves. And we've seen strike in the health sector. We've seen how the infrastructure within that sector also is dilapidated. So what are you going to do in the health sector to ensure that we have a thriving health sector?
You know, when I said I was going to budget 20% to education, many persons don't know that education by itself is the mother that springboard into every sector. We cannot have doctors, good doctors, good engineers, because Nigerians are the one to fix Nigeria first. Even if you are going to have expatriates, they work for Nigerians. And if our educational sector is not fixed, our human capacity would be nothing. So first, education for me, I know why, because I know the roots.
I don't disagree with you on that level. But sorry, just a minute. But because that in itself would take time to reflect on the health sector. It is not something that you do and then there's impact all of a sudden. But what's the first decision you would take concerning the health sector?
Yeah, it's not going to take time. You can have doctors trained, professional doctors trained in 8 months. It's just, there's something called retraining and overtraining. Yes, you can be trained and become very good at having, as we do professional programs, and within 3 months, 4 months, you keep doing the training. It's not a long program, I understand it clearly. One, our health sector needs serious funding also. We must look at the previous administration had promised that government officials who patronize Nigerian medical sector. We have investors who will be coming into Nigeria to ensure, one of the things we're going to be doing is to ensure that the government hospitals are, one, seriously funded to meet up with international best practices, and two, to ensure that we set up in the 6 geopolitical zone in Nigeria as a medical facilities that could take care of Nigerians. And again, for me, I believe that Nigeria is still a state whereby we must still subsidize healthcare services for Nigeria. So we are going to be subsidizing the healthcare facility. We have the insurance scheme for Nigeria. But how many Nigerians are aware of that? How effective it is? We will be doing that. We are going to be subsidizing education, we are going to subsidize food, and we're going to subsidize healthcare.
Well, subsidy is a big problem now, even in the oil sector. People are saying remove subsidy, but we'll see how I'm out of time. I would have allowed you to explain that, but we'll continue to follow your campaign as it starts in September, and then I'm sure we'll have you off and on just to come brief us as developments continue. Thank you so much for talking to us. The presidential candidate of our Accord Party, Professor Christopher Imumolen.
Thank you so much for having me. God bless you.